What all that? No, what was the question?
What I was back, brother. Oh, okay. I was asking like how would you like register as a Nubian citizen?
You said register?
Yes, like yeah. How do you register?
For you right here. It would be to contact the Brooklyn bookstore, the All Eyes on Egypt bookstore in Brooklyn. And
okay.
Get in contact with them for that process. Or if there is a process of what that would be, what that would consist of, if IDs or anything like that is needed. They could give you a better insight on that.
Okay. By the way.
If you don't have the number to Brooklyn, I'll get it too. If you get a pen and paper too, if you don't have it already.
Okay, I will get a pen right now.
All right, no problem.
Okay, I'm ready for the number when you are.
All right, that's going to be 718 452.
718 456.
No, 452.
Oh, 452.
That's correct. 93 29. What state are you in right now?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right, let's see if we got another contact out that way. Savannah, are you connected with the Savannah bookstore?
Oh, that's.
Well, actually, I don't know if they have one there. I don't know if they have one there. I just have a contact that says Savannah. I think it's in Lithonia right now.
It's a bookstore in Lithonia too. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm close to Lithonia.
All right, let me see if I can get that number for you in the meantime. So do you got access to any books? Like, do you have physical books or have access to any electronic books or anything like that?
Just so far as my phone. That's it right now.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, by registering to become a Nubian, what would you, what do you think is the overall objective and intention after that? Like, what would your goal after that? Just curious.
Me personally, I want to be a help to the community, and just spreading the knowledge and just like I love Wunuwap. Like it's my culture. I accept it as my culture and who I am. Like everything outside of that, like it doesn't vibe with me. Like I enjoy everything about the love of the community, and like I've been practicing as a country's being for almost 7 years, like without just studying and reading the books, but actually doing the works. Like I've been actually practicing almost 7 years, and like since I'm out here in society, because I just got out of prison on last Monday, and like so I haven't really been around that had enlightened me, and because you don't come across too many Nubians in prison, and which is a good thing. But like since I'm awoke in conscious, like it's just like I just want to be around other conscious people, and benefit to the community, out here. That's my reason personally.
Understood. Well, yeah, with that type of drive, yeah, that's what we need. That's what we need. So, yeah, I got your contact. I'd like to build with you a little bit after, see what, because obviously we got to be able to take care of ourselves and our families so we can be productive for the whole beehive. So that's what I'd be wanting to do. So I'm going to leave the floor open. It's not really my platform right now. I just wanted to, see where you was at a little bit. So we definitely appreciate you calling in, brother. Keep holding the rope. You know what I'm talking about?
All right, we're going to get into the questions. If anybody want to try to first answer the question, what is keeping Satan's totally from destroying the spell and freeing ourselves? So if anybody wants to elaborate on that, we're going to do that now. Take *6 to raise your hand, and your phone will be unmuted.
Well, I guess I'll break the ice. Well, first, I'd say if you could start maybe explaining different forms of the spell, because some people may not know, different forms of what the spell even is. So maybe if you can just go into, we know that the Adamites was under a spell. We know that, so if you can maybe go into that might be a good way to start it.
All right, well, the spell is the spell of ignorance. We've been taught to ignore, and to ignore the fact and accept belief. Belief is vague information. Belief is information that hasn't been confirmed, doesn't have any support of actual facts. So basically, me just telling you I got $1 billion sitting here, in my room. You accept that, you believe that without no actual facts, no evidence, not seeing it. And that's been the whole society, religion, that's their foundation, is based off belief and the authority of telling you what to do and how to do it. So that's another aspect of just because we say so, which is the master and slave mentality. Just do what we say do. So now, being under the condition of belief and accepting the authority and rule by others, we become slaves and subject to someone else's will, meaning they control our destiny, because now that's your master telling you what to do and how to do it and when to do it and when not to do it. So to break out of this spell, to break out of that mental condition as well as a genetic condition, because this condition has been going on for hundreds of years. So not only is it in your environment constantly attacking you, it's also in your genes passed down from generation to generation, because you are a product of your parents, your mothers and fathers. So in breaking that spell, breaking that mental condition, and totally destroying it and becoming back into our natural nature and being free, mentally, spiritually, physically, and to control our own destiny, access and utilize our will to have our souls restored again, where you can now, as a whole, can determine where you're going to live, how you're going to live, and don't have to say, well, I have to go down here and register and get permission to transport myself from one place to the other for the driver's license, or I have to get permission from someone else in order to exist. And this was the Adamite 6,000 years domain that was given to them by their overlords or the alien gods, who told them to have 6,000 years to rule the planet Earth. And their job was to rule everything on the planet, or every species on the planet, and make slaves out of them. And so they felt that the year 2000 was the end of their 6,000 years. So 2000 AD ended, and they wasn't given any extension. So now, in that sense, they will be removed off the planet. But we as Africans don't want to remove ourselves from them. Because if we remove ourselves from them, our ancestors would remove them off the planet. So this is another reason why the Adamites, or the Europeans, the Kakasu, the Mukasu, want to keep you close. So they're going to give you things to keep you attracted to their society, to keep you depending on them. That's what the movie Independence Day meant. You had to let go of some kind of dependency. So this goes into how far are we really ready to be free? Like, how in depth are we really willing to go? Because if you start imagining that you're going to be on your own land, let's just say, for some strange reason, the United States gives Native Americans back their land. So we got 8, 10 states, whatever, how many states you have. Now, how are you going to be living on those states? What's going to happen when you run out of mouthwash, toothpaste, hair products? Are you going to still have to go and order products from your ex-slave masters to still depend on them, or are you going to learn to live without it? Are you going to be able to set a new standard until you can make it or produce things on your own that you can just live without it? The fact that you're free will be enough to now build and grow and live how you want to live. Or are we going to still have to play into a system because we're not strong enough or willing to let go and totally destroy the spell? So that's what I mean when we're talking about are we ready to totally destroy the spell? Like, how far are we really looking into being free? And that's what that spell is. That spell is dependency. That spell is belief. That spell is ignorance. That spell is not wanting to. That spell is idleness and laziness, to not want to get up and actually take on a new type of life. So it's like, how bad do you really want to be free? So with this test, well, I won't call it a test run, but with this quarantine, everybody's on strike, a lockdown, dealing with this coronavirus, what happened? They said, well, we'll send you $1,200, see if that helps. And only the people that can get to $1,200 and those who's part of the IRS, you have to be a citizen, it's all with the Census 2020. Everything always has to come back to being a part and saying you're a part of their system, which is how they so-called lock you in. You agreed to it. So when people were saying that slavery was a choice, people was having an issue about that. But what slavery is he talking about? Slavery now or slavery then? Because slavery now is a choice. If someone tells you, oh, well, no, you don't have to register with us. You don't have to pay your taxes. You don't have to have a driver's license or a license plate on the back of your car, but we're going to pull you over and throw you in jail. You don't have to do it, though. But this is what's going to happen to you if you don't. So that's that making an offer that you can't refuse concept because of the lack of unity and the lack of order and organization. An organization is in order. So how can you have an organization and you don't have no order? So that's what I mean by breaking the spell.
So, well, we're in the now. So can you maybe relate the spell to how it relates to us now? Like, you did tap into how, we see the COVID-19. There's a lot of reactionary mindset. Maybe you can even give some solutions and strategies how we can break the spell in this current time and now, because right now it's very critical. We're not supposed to be behind the 9-ball, we're supposed to be ahead of it. So maybe you can go into that a little bit.
Well, the best cure for breaking the spell, of course, is the teachings and the doctrine of Baba Yanani, the master teacher, that's here to break the spell. All information throughout from 1970 up until now has been designed to break that spell. It's been designed to give you the right information or the right knowledge, to give you the right understanding with sound right reasoning, so you can have the right overstanding, so you can step over the standard that's been set, which goes back to belief. So the best is practicing. We have to practice a new way of thinking. And that means you have to practice it every day. Just like if you want to practice how to put a ball in a hoop or roller skate or whatever, you have to do it consistently. It means you have to consistently start thinking in another way. When we would think real vaguely, we now have to start thinking very vividly. We have to start learning to ask not just questions, but the right questions that's dealing with the right information or the topic or whatever you engaged in. If we're talking about religious beliefs and people want to say they believe in God, and you're like, well, where is God? Can you prove that there's a God? Well, in this book, well, you're proving to me that there's a book, a story about God. If that's your only proof. But someone said, well, look at the trees and look at the wind and look at the earth and look at the sun. All that came from God. Okay, you're saying that. Now, can you prove that that came from God? Because you're just telling me that. So this is how, again, belief comes about. And they started also as a child, putting money under your pillow for a tooth and call it the tooth fairy. So you now start believing in these myths and basically lies. So in order to remove yourself from the spell, you first have to know what the spell is. What is the spell? What is ignorance? What is belief? And the book that authored by Baba Yanana show you and give examples of what that spell is, what that belief is, by giving you the facts, the actual facts, for you to go and research or whatever you might need to do to get more confirmation of that information. But that's where it starts. It starts with finding what you have an interest in and then addressing that interest. And then let's find out if that interest is true. What type of foundation is that interest sitting on? Is it a sound foundation, or is it built on vague belief, myth, and lies?
Got a question also. I think I opened up the line. Last four is 7768. I believe you have. Looks like you have your phone on mute, but your line's open. Last four is 7768 has a question.
Rahul Matt Musa.
Brother.
We were talking about breaking the spell, excuse me, and the census. So in order for us to avoid getting jailed, we still have to play the game until we can get out of that box?
That's pretty much.
In other words, we have to fill out our census, because I've gotten 3 letters already and threatened, the penal system. You're gonna get locked up if you don't sign this paper. So what would we do right now today in our situation? Do we sign the census, or we just keep avoiding it?
Well, I can't say what you should do individually. So I don't know, the totality of your situation. But you have to make that decision. But us as a whole, what's putting pressure on us as individuals is the fact that we are not coming together as a whole and moving and standing as a whole, as a nation, and as a tribe. So and this is how they single us out. And within our affirmation, it says we can succeed as a part of the all and fail as individuals. And so as long as we remain as individuals, we as a whole are going to keep failing. So when they come along, like you were saying with the census, and say, okay, well, if you don't sign this, or if you don't pay your mortgage, we can come put you out. But if you stay there with the argument and saying, well, hey, my ancestors was here before you ever came here in 1400. This is our land. This is our stuff. This is, you invaded. And they're going to say, well, yeah, tell that to the judge. And then you're going to be hauled off and arrested. And where's the help? Where's your support? Well, where's your backup? Because they can get on their call and call backup, and 20 officers will show up. Who can you call that's going to show up? Where's your nation that's going to show up and represent you? And this is where we have to get to. This is where we need to be. We need to be at the point where we are one, literally. And that's the question with how long is it going to take for us to destroy whatever, or find out what is keeping us apart, so we can come together before it's too late. Because we see things are getting closer and closer to whatever, let's say, conspiracy agendas that secret governments or whatever open governments have. They want to chip you, they want to concentrate you, they want to, kill you, keep fearing you. Whatever the case is, we see it's happening. Corona got the whole country on lock. The whole planet is on lock, pretty much. So when are we going to put that on the table and say, okay, this is what we're dealing with? So what do we do until that time? You have to make the best decision that you feel is best for you at that time. Because I can't tell you should go to jail, brother. You should, get this shot or do anything. I can't tell you what's best for you. Only you know that. But this is what we're faced with. And it's going to be more of us that's going to be faced with that.
Well, but can I be heard?
Sure.
I think there was an inquiry from the same individual, Kefir Kamat, as far as maybe moving into a integrated society where we live in a tabernacle setting. We did get your inquiry, so we'll reach out. I mean, if we don't want to sign the census, then it would be, I mean, our independence would be optimal at that point, meaning that whether you want to follow the Religious Freedom Act, acquire land and have your families live in that type of environment, that's really what we should be aspiring toward. And that's what we are aspiring towards. That's it. So when they knock at our door, they be like, all right, you have to adhere to this if your child coming to the school. Well, our children won't be going back to school. Well, you have to adhere to this if you want to integrate with our society like this. Well, we just won't be integrating with your society like that. And we have every right as citizens to do that, to choose how we want to live, choose how we want to be, how they interface with us. Right now, we're not an appropriate persona, as they call it in Morris world. We're not an appropriate persona to even dictate, and that's why we have to have these conversations, because we got family in New York, and they got people locked in, and we don't know where they want to go with this, and we're not children of, we're children of right reason. So that means that we have to look at the facts now. The facts now is they're trying to lock people in their house. They are locking people in their homes to whatever degree that we want to call it. There is no tabernacle for us to go to. There is no food secured. There is no water secured. We don't have an education system in place for our children, so we have to do something about it. And us being children of right reason, we're here to, make the proper steps. So we did get the inquiry, and we are making steps to, solidify those things now. That was the brother, Alberto.
So did that answer your question, brother?
Sabotage. Tower.
If anybody else has any questions, you could hit *6, raise your hand. It's all good. We all family on the line. So. If Brother Cruz got any other questions too, you're more than free, bro.
And also, just to make another reference point, in the Right Knowledge Scroll, it talks about how will we be free, and the answer was simply when we are mentally united. We united wherever you are, and a free mind means free mental activity. I mean, you'll be able to use your mind how you want to use it as a whole. Baba had spoke about how a united mind is a divine mind. So if we want our divinity as a whole, then our mental unity and love is what's going to free us. That's always been said. What's going to free Baba Yanana is our unity and love. Well, what's holding back or hindering our unity? When we all have common interests. We all have the common interests of Baba. We all have some levels of the doctrine, whether it's in books, form, we have some degree of the information, which this is what brings us together. We have an interest in wanting to be back to being supreme. We have an interest to wanting to remove ourselves out from under what's going to befall this country of beings, or this planet, actually. So we have one here as a warner, as a reformer, to reform us from the conditioning that we've been placed under. So we have to get into totally reforming ourselves and get out of how easily it is to fall back into as they say, the mundane, everyday situation. Having to work, school, bills, our entertainment, what we consider as fun, TV, television, social media, and put more time on truly wanting to be free. With Baba being locked up should have been the biggest interest of Sabian to free him and do whatever it takes to free him. And it seems like for 18 years going on, that we've been sitting back waiting for the heavens to open up and just a glorious light come to shine down, and he'll just float up out of there and walk back to us and say, see, now I have to keep proving to you who I am, so now you want to come follow. When that's not how it works. We still sometimes caught up in the spookism and really think that we're not going to have to stand up, come together, and either leave some conditions behind. You ain't going to be able to bring your cell phone, your laptop, your little gadgets, all these things that we've been given as if our ancestors and technology that we don't have hundreds, thousands of years in advance or even further than that of technology that can be shared with us. But are they going to share, let's say, the blessings with us, and we still had a state of mind of the Adamites, of the devil? Because we're going to be trying to make $1 off of it. We're going to be trying to make money off of it. We're going to be trying to, sell the information to someone else to the highest bidder. And that goes right back into the Adamite mentality. We're going to be at competition. Why we don't think about this, if those that do understand that Baba is an alien extraterrestrial from another planet here on Earth with us, for those that accept that, then why we as a nation, seeing that he has extraterrestrial doctrine and he teaches extraterrestrial information, that we don't have more encounters with extraterrestrials? Why all of us not waking up with a gland, reinserted, and being a channeler and tapping into our higher selves and bringing etheric beings into this realm? Are they trying to come here, or are they trying to get us to get out of here? And maybe that's why they only sent one, to get us out. But whatever the case is, we have to look at and start analyzing our situation. But instead of asking so much about, well, what about the Adamites and what's happening to them, and what is this? Is this a plague, or is this another means of destroying them off the planet? We're so caught up in wanting to know what their government or their people are doing. We seem like we're neglecting our own self.
I got an email. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had a text from Sabotage Moot. It says the question the brother asked about the 2020 census, participation is mandatory as described in Title 13 of U.S. Code. Refusal to respond can result in a fine. However, no one has been prosecuted for failing to respond to a census since 1970. And if I remember speaking with the sister, she just actually graduated with a law degree in December. So big kudos to the sister out there with that. Appreciate the comment also. And that was for brother Shefer. You got the floor, brother. I just want to put that out there.
Sure. Okay. Appreciate for sharing that. But that also goes into another spell dealing with law. Worked as a legal assistant, so I've been in courtrooms and studied law. And when you look up again, as soon as you go to in their court or use their statute, this quotes this, you're playing into that game. You're tying yourself in. So you're quoting something that they authored. Where's your law? Where's your statute? What governs you? And see, that's why one of the reasons Baba wrote and gave us back in 1992 a Constitution as your manual. But again, in order to enforce your law, you have to be able to live it, speak it, walk it, and organize within it. And everything is, according to the system, everything is contract. And if it's not contract, then it's slavery. And if it's slavery, then it's against the international law or human rights. So supposedly no one can make you do anything. But again, it's how they've conditioned us, and we become dependent. So how do we become independent? How do we go with leaning and taking support, like they was saying, putting us on welfare and giving us stimulus checks, and so we're depending on somebody. And the only way to become independent is we have to eventually step up and take on that responsibility and be willing to change. And how many of us are really ready to change?
I had a question too, Brody, if possible, as it relates to calling on our spiritual ancestors in Natharo and the Ben or the Black Mirror. Could you maybe go into why that's critical that we start moving in direction? We have exhausted most of the national remedies. We're also talking about some international remedies as of the last couple of weeks and months. But can you go in a little bit about maybe why it's important for us to get back into the tones and the chants as it relates to the master teacher and our way of life?
I'm sorry, I lost that last part. My phone went out.
Well, because I know you
said why it was important, something about the master teacher.
Yeah, because basically we should be calling on the Natharu, like you were saying, like how come we don't have encounters with, more extraterrestrial beings? Like, so basically what I'm saying is that we've exhausted most of the Adamites' way of trying to get things done. So I'm asking, as far as it relates to our way of life, could you just maybe go into why the benefit of us going to what we're supposed to be doing already is important? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, the making Magaraj is just another focus point, because we still have to come together in order to just have it erected, just to build it, and then just to come and do the rituals for it, which goes back into creating the need and the desire and showing that we have an interest in wanting to do better. If we don't take on the initiative to start expressing ourselves and showing that we want to do and want to have, then in other words, Natharu are looking at us saying, okay, if we give them something and they choose not to do it, then they must don't want to do it. So,
right.
What is that saying to them? That's saying, okay, well, we'll just take Bob and go on. We came, not 60 years, we gave them what they wanted, and in hopes that they would want what we came to give. And if they don't want it, then there's no need of taking anything from them. Is somebody saying something? Or can they mute their phone if they're not speaking?
So
that's what ends up, taking place. We have to still get into the willingness and the desire to want to have our own stuff. It doesn't matter what we choose to do. But the Magaraj, the Mir, is a focus point, because we do have to have something physically to start doing to get us into the mental and to affect from the outside in and from the inside out. And this is one of the things that the master teacher, Baba Yanun, is always talking about, turning yourself inside out and going inside and reforming that and bringing it out. Because lots of things that have been suppressed are still in you. The divinity is in you. It's still there. The God in you is still there. It's just what's going to bring it out. And what's going to bring it out is by you activating God actions and God thoughts. So if we don't every day, every minute practice God thoughts, God actions, and doing godly things, then we're not activating our divine side. If we're constantly doing Adamite things and speaking in the Adamite language and dressing and acting, then that's what we're going to be bringing forth out of us, because we've mixed in, so we got genetic as well as mental conditioning. So if you think like them, then you are a part of that. So our spiritual practices, or our, enhancement or reforming practices are needed, from chants to eventually the prayer book will be out to, certain rituals. But in order to even have our own land, It's been over 18 years that Baba has been kidnapped. We had land, 476 acres of land. 19 acres of that was developed with pyramids and stages, and ceremony sites, Hathor Studios and Ramesses Clubs and social. We haven't built that back yet. After 18 years, we haven't even said, "Hey, we need a place to call home." Where's the desire to have your own stuff? Where's the, even if it's the anger, where is the Adamite anger that someone came and took your stuff? Now imagine if you went to D.C. and tried to take and tear down a monument or a building in D.C. You don't think somebody's going to stand up? They're going to protect their stuff? Why can they protect what's theirs, but we won't protect what's ours? What's holding us back from that? That's what I want to get into today. What is that mentality? What is that nature that we can keep getting smacked and keep turning the other cheek, but then turn around and say, "But I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in their God. I'm not afraid. I don't believe in their heaven and hell." But it's something that's holding us back, that someone can come and take our Father, and we can sit and say, "Oh man, maybe we chant, maybe we pray real hard, they'll let him go." Or maybe someone else will do it. Someone else will go free him. Because I really want to get this next book, and I want to get my question answered. But we're not willing to do everything it takes in order to protect ourselves as well as that which we say we love and all that we had. We was the only group of people that had who else had pyramids? Who else has a master teacher in this day and time? The real deal. And this is how we allow disagreeable beings to treat us for 18 years. And it's like we just think it's okay. Oh, he's God. He's God. He can deal with it. He can take care of it. That's how we're going. That's how we're looking at it. Like he's not in physical pain. I've seen him. I sat in front of him in multiple visits. The last from 2016 to 2018. I see what pain he's in. Physical pain. That's a physical body. Anybody see him? He had to teach. He had to stand up there. He had to walk. He's in physical form. He's in flesh. He's not an Etherean standing there talking to you. He's a physical body talking through it. Now, if that body, which is the conduit or the speaker for our elders, if that body gets cut off, then we just got cut off from our elders. And it seems like we as a whole, now, not each individual, but as a whole, it's like we don't really show any type of concern about that. So we must still be caught up in the spookism or something. We caught up into something. So I just want to know what it is that we caught up in so we can get uncaught and really start moving forward. Because I don't know how many times I'm going to have to keep saying it over and over again that we're running out of time. Yeah, the Adamites' time that ended. We have our last 10 years. How long do you think Bob was 76 years old in less than 100 days from there? Well, how long do you think he's going to keep holding on? How much do you think he can eat? Gum in his food, suffering in pain, and they're giving him wrong medication. And whatever they're giving him, it could be the cause of his death. Because that's another thing. They get you hooked on one. He's explained this. This is not me coming up with this. He's told us this. They'll get you hooked on one medication for blood pressure. They say his blood pressure is real high. He has eye problems, heart issues. Now, did he have all this stuff before he went in? No, he was fine. He suffered from angioedema. And they won't even give him medicine for that. So he's standing there when his face is swollen up or he can't breathe. He done passed out on the floor several times that his guards came in and found him. He had a sign he made he would hold up to the window to let them see I can't breathe. Call, he's to push a button and no one would come. Or they'll come hours later. And he's suffering or pass out. And they just tell him, well, go lay down. There's no doctor here. There's nothing we can do because it's not on record that you have hereditary angioedema. They tell him to get some, something out of the commissary. Some Benadryl or something for it. But it's not an allergic reaction. And they know this. They know the blood of angioedema. They know what the angel's blood is. So he's sitting in pain and still is giving us information and doctrine to still help reform us. And he keeps saying, the only thing I'm asking y'all to do is to work together and come together and be as one. This is our test. It's to free him. This is all they asking. This is all our ancestors is asking us to do. And it seems like we're having a very difficult, challenging time when it comes to what we say we love and care so much about. To keep letting him suffer like someone else is just going to pop up and come along and organize and get together and take a stand and say enough is enough. Or you're going to wait till they say, okay, everybody line up so you can get your chip. Everybody line up so you can get this shot. If you're not going, get in this line because this line is going to the concentration camp. That's what we've been seeing so many movies telling you that. It's like, oh, you waiting for that to happen then. Then that's when you're going to say, oh, let's save some food and let's do all the things that Baba told us we needed to be doing. Let's gather somewhere. Somewhere like where? How you going to get there? They're going to if they shut down the roads there, you can't travel. The airplanes, you can't fly. You can't get out the country. So you can't leave and let them get destroyed because we keep sitting here saying, we doing what? What are we waiting on? Can somebody tell me that's on this call? What are we waiting on?
Hey, Brother Moo, you hear me?
Sure.
Just thinking about, as you were speaking, I'll even share 2 things. Besides, three things. One reason why, I'm moving in full capacity right now is because I know for 100% fact, with 99% non-fact, that I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for the sacrifices of the Master Teacher and our vanguard. But the 2 main things that really stand out at this current now is that after hearing the audios and hearing our fathers say that, oh, I can't see through my eye, or I can't walk, I don't walk. I almost passed away 3 different times, and I only found that out in the last 1.5, 2 years. So I'm like, what? You almost did what? So I'm thinking the first set is like, are we going to do like what they did with Kobe Bryant? People passed away, everybody's going to get Master Teacher shirts. That's when everybody's going to get excited? No. So right now, everybody should be just as excited that they took it, in that. Okay, so y'all get that point. The second thing that really stands out in this current now is that the children of the Most High knock at the door of the Holy Tabernacle Ministries now in the form of Wu Sabat. And they can't make their journey within. They can't get back to the dot because people are arguing, acting like black devils, mortals, 3D carnal. Now, those 2 things alone means that it's time to install what Pops calls Minawapu, or replacement. We have a responsibility. It's not just wearing black and gold. It's not just talking about how long we knew the Master Teacher. It's not just talking about what we did in the 70s and the 80s. It's what we're doing now. And right now, people aren't really in a mind state like the brother said. Our Master Teacher is in pain. Like he's al-Khadru. People are scared. That was the other thing I was going to say earlier. I think part of the reason that's holding us back is people are scared. Oh, somebody's listening. Somebody's doing this, or somebody might tell. Look, we're supposed to be the best citizens. So anybody talking like that, ask them, well, what the hell do you do in your life that you're so scared that somebody's listening? Because right now we're supposed to be at the head of the curve. We should be thinking like that. And I'm not saying we should be facetious to let all our... delicate information out and things like that. But that mindset it's not in the mindset of our master teacher, who's Al-Kharuf, that put everything on his line for his family, his children, his legacy. The recent audio says, if I had it my way, I'd sit behind a computer all day and just hash out little details so we can unify. But his mail's being inhibited. His messages is being inhibited by mortals, right? So he put something out, and then mortals decided to come out with it 4 years later. We're not all in sync because of these different things. So we're talking about love and unity. That's not brotherly, my brother or sister. So don't tell me about love and unity. We got to show it now. And we're not going to wait till something happens to our master teacher for people to get all excited and be like, oh, let me dress up in costumes and how much I felt for him. Nah, do that now. Transform into Malachi now on the street corner. And unfortunately, with the type of restraints that we have, we can't even fully do that. So it's a real critical time for us to really have some real serious conversations about what the status of our family really is. And what it is we're not in the tabernacle setting. We don't have solutions for our children. So anybody's still talking about, pantheons and pseudo, just tap them on the shoulder and be like, hey, our children and our women and our elders can't eat that right now, man. We got to find out how we're going to live amongst each other, how we're going to free our master teacher and make our voice back in the stars as Wu Sabat. That's the only conversation. How we're going to free our master teacher, who is our savior, and how we're going to survive on the planet, provide a roadmap for our elders, our women, and our children. And then when we can do that, then we can have the pseudo conversations. That's my suggestion. Excuse my tone. I digress. Any questions, you could hit *6 too. I might just open up the floor, but I digress.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. That's all true. We have to get in a better synchronicity with what's going on. And the one we need to be in tune with is Bob. He gave us his calling card. He gave us a direct line to connect to him, the gateway. It's in the back of the book. Call it all expanded. He's a part of the all. If we are part of the all that he's a part of, then we become one. But when one person does it, and then that one shares, and you start looking crazy or nuts, and then they lock you up. That's what happened to Bob, because that one is in tune with all, and the message comes through that one. They center that one, lock him up, and then what happens to everyone else? We still have a sense of doubt, and they say G-O-D, get over doubt. It's God. Only way you can get over doubt is you got to ask and have your questions answered and have an answer that meets the standard that's going to truly free you. I was making reference to the Right Knowledge Scroll about how can we be free, or what is it when the spell is broken. And he says on page 26 of the Right Knowledge Scroll, when the destruction of the spell is complete, you as black people will have a free and united mind. A free mind means mental activity. You will be in charge and in control of all your destiny. As in times past. So can anybody give their account for why and what is holding, what's holding them back? If you can and would like to explain and share, what's holding you back? Because we each individually have something that's holding us back, because we've been conditioned and we've taken it so personal as if it's a part of us, when it's really not you. It's something that someone has conditioned you to accept. It's conditioning you to have a complex.
Rahul back?
Sure. Rahul back.
Here?
Yes.
Yes, Rahul back. I just wanted to chime in really quick because I heard a brother say that he went up to the visit and he saw the master teacher in pain. and he saw his face swelling up, suffering from his angioedema. So my question is, when you saw that situation, when you left that facility, what did you do?
I got in the car. I drove back to the hotel. What do you mean, what did I do?
I mean, I'm just going to just keep it real. Like, you go to a prison, right? You go to jail. You see someone in pain. You see their face roll up. You said you got in the car and you drove back to the hotel. So did you document the situation? Did you go report it? Did you look anything up on the internet? Did you see who you could call? Because you were eyewitness to that. And the fact that on the visits they have recordings there. They have a recording. And the fact that you were there, you could have written an affidavit and done something about it. So you're saying you don't like to see the master teacher in this situation, and you're saying that we have to stop not doing anything. So, and I'm not saying this to attack you, I'm just saying this to bring light to a situation. When you see these situations, because you have people in this tribe who would love to go up there to see the master teacher, who would love to have the opportunity to sit there and talk to him. And if they see him in pain like that, you don't just walk away, get in the car, and go to the hotel. When you got back home, or you could have reached out to the family like how you doing a conference call now, and you could have said, look, y'all, I've seen the situation, because there's so many of us in this tribe. We all have hidden potentials and talents, whether it's you got members of this tribe that are in Congress, you have members of this tribe that work in Washington, D.C., you have members of this tribe that are in contact. It's like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. If we all would come together in that way and just care a little bit more, then we wouldn't be in this situation that we're in now as a family. And so I remember a few years back, every time this is Sabotage, and every time I got involved.
Before you go into that, let me go back to your question so we don't get too many topics on the table at one time. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Mario Justice. So I was a part of the filing for the medical transfer. So this is what we did do about it. So when you said what was done about it, we did go to court, file a complaint in order to fight to get Baba moved so he can get treatment in a better facility. Now, the support, again, from the tribe and from the nation, because of infighting and division, that doesn't go anywhere because we're not fighting as a whole. It's these little groups and splinter groups, and we over here trying to get support and only getting support from, 8, 9 people when it's a nation of thousands of us on the planet, all over. So it's not just what did I do.
Let me ask you a question, just to interject really quick. When you say support, what are you talking about? Because I can tell you from being a former federal inmate, I did 4 years in the Fed. I've been in a facility like that. Not like ADX, but I've been on lockdown 24 hours for 4 months. So what I'm saying to you is, when you say support, a lot of people think that you need money to get Baba out. You don't need the money. The money is the games that's been being played for all these years. I mean, if you go through if you have a Paces account, if anyone looks through Paces and you go through his case, you'll see lawyer after lawyer after lawyer after lawyer after lawyer, and it's just the same old circle of games being played. You don't need money. And to move an inmate from one facility to another, any smart attorney will know that that's another game that they'll try to play to get, because when you move one inmate, first of all, it's called a furlough. No inmate is going to get transferred to a medical facility without it being done within the BOP. I don't care how many lawyers you got, how much money the lawyers got. You could pick it outside of a federal facility. It doesn't work that way. It works through the computation center. They are the ones that transfer inmate, and it's called a writ, and you get transferred from one facility to the next. It doesn't work where an attorney can come from outside and make that happen. It just doesn't work that way. It has to happen within the facility. It has to happen through the Department of Justice, through the BOP. So what I'm saying is there are members of this tribe who know people or who have connections with people who they can contact to get it done from within the community. Because, within the BOP, it has to happen like that, where they transfer inmates, and then Baba would get transferred from ADX to Oklahoma, which is the transit center, from Oklahoma to Butner, North Carolina, the medical facility. And then once his medical situation is treated, they'll send him right back to ADX. Like Butner is not a designated federal facility. Butner is just a facility for if you have an injury, if you have a broken leg, or if you get a disease and they treat you.
Okay.
So what I'm saying to you is,
going back to your question.
To get,
hold
right,
on.
right. What did you do?
I'll let you finish. Let me go back. Let me address what you just stated, because you addressed a lot, and we're jumping around. And there's lots of vague things that are getting shared, and this is how we get misperceptions amongst the tribe, amongst the family, because they'll say, well, I was on a call and I heard a sister say, only thing you need is an attorney to get Baba moved. And that's not an actual fact, because there's more detail to that. It's not just an attorney can come in and get a furlough and they're just going to transfer him. It doesn't work that easily. This is why the purpose of having to go to court orders enforce the BOP to have to do something. It's not a choice. When you go to the prison, you're asking the warden to make a decision on your behalf. The warden is the judge of the prison, the president of the prison. He controls what goes on in his prison, and the BOP supports that. So now we're getting into a different conversation to go back to, is it money and what do we need? And what we needed in the medical transfer and what we still don't have is love and unity, is emotional and mental support. Because when we are emotionally and mentally in sync with one another, you make matter move. You make things happen. That's how. And that's the type of contribution that we're not having. People are just saying, oh, I gave my money, I'll let them take care of it. Oh, I done my chance, I'm going to get on the call, I'm not going to come to the meetings, I'm not going to come to the balls and to the events, and I'll just let them take care of it. That's what we're lacking. And that's the purpose of the outcalls. When is the spell totally going to be destroyed? And realize it's not this or that, it's this and that. Because if you do want to go on the road of litigation, it does cost money. Now, the question is, where is the money going to come from? That doesn't mean that the money equals the result. The result is going to come from where our hearts and minds are at. Mm-hmm. So, and where our energy is directed. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, this is Abdul Qudus. Maybe can you go into detail about what happened during that court proceedings? I don't think people know the type of dysfunction and the type of disunity, the type of slip game that was put in place even during that procedure. Can you please just bring everybody up to date about, what maybe happened during that procedure and what would... Go ahead.
That's a long conversation dealing with, when you start getting into the medical and the politics within the legal team and the legal and the family. But again, basically disunity. It's just a form of disunity. And so to go back and let's say to point the finger at it right now, I mean, unless those people was on the call, it wouldn't be a need for me to really talk about it. Unless you're going to get everybody.
Let me just interject from what I witnessed during that process, and I'll just digress.
All right.
What I witnessed was this.
But hold on real quick. Was the sister finished with, because I didn't want to, I cut her off to go back to address. So I just wanted to see if she was, what else she had to say, or if she needed to respond to that.
Yeah,
that's what's needed. It's unity.
Yeah,
Love.
I don't want to be rude. I basically want to set healthy boundaries amongst us all because we're fighting. Us fighting each other is not going to result in anything but just confusion and misunderstanding. But there was a situation where I had, and I'm saying this because this is the truth. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot, but hey, it's about being honest and speaking the truth. I had went to Washington, D.C., and I spoke with, this is when I had Congressman Hank Johnson, on board, right? And his community outreach director, his name is Mr. Arthur Sidney. He was going to step in right through the Department of Justice to have Baba transferred. But what he said to me was, okay, we'll get him transferred, but he's still going to have to be on lockdown. I said, I don't care as long as you get him in another facility, because when you get moved to another facility, you get a whole new unit team. You see, the unit team in the facility, they're the ones that govern your life in prison. They're the ones that say where you go. They're the ones that when you write your BP 8s and 9s, and those are just write-ups, when you write those things, and I know you know what I'm talking about, but for anyone else that may be listening, these people are the ones that have your life in their hands, And so when you get transferred to another facility, you get a whole new unit team. And once you get a whole new unit team, you get a whole new outlook on your life, and you get to decide, you get to make better decisions for yourself, as far as your privileges are concerned, as far as your write-ups and all these other things. And so this man, Mr. Arthur Sidney, he was going to move the master teacher to the Butner facility. And when I came back from speaking with him, he had wrote a letter to the prison, and he had assured at the time, the law firm that I was affiliated with here in Orlando, that they would step in to have him moved. And Sakina had her lawyer, Tucker, call a firm here and told them to cease and desist. Okay? Now, you can call it what you want to call it, but I'm going to say what I got to say. That right there is the type of thing that has been going on for years, where the master teacher be at the door, or a situation will occur where the authority will use one of us who's not afraid to step up and do something. And when that one person does something, you have a monopoly of niggas, is what I'm gonna call them, because they don't really walk with us.
Right.
They don't. You have a monopoly of niggas that come in, and what they do is they block the master from coming out, because as long as he stays in there, they can continue to keep making money off of him, whether it's with the books, and I won't even say the books, because Baba doesn't care about that. He just wants his information to get out. So if they're making money off of books, that means that people are getting his information, and that's important. But, as long as, people keep on partying and paying their bills and doing that, they will succeed. Or like someone said, they put a poster up, and I thought that was really hideous and sneaky and evil, to say that if you want evil, in order for evil to be victorious, all you have to do is, wait a minute, how did they say? They said the only thing necessary for the victory of evil is for good people to do nothing. But when the good people try to do something, the evil people block them, okay? And so I'm saying that to say that Sakina used her lawyer to stop me, or stop what we were doing to get Baba transferred, because the people in Congress were going to work with the law firm here, and she stepped in with that cease and desist crap with Tucker. Okay, so I just wanted to put that out there and say that it's not like people are not doing anything. People have been doing things, and people still are doing things. They just don't want what they're trying to do to be interceded or, blocked by those who want to keep him locked up.
And that's a perfect example. And thanks for sharing. And this is the reason why we have to have more transparency so the family can know, and this is where the energy can go and support. And because let's say prior administration doesn't inform the family of what's going on in the nation, this is how things always happen, and then you hear about it after the fact, or you don't hear about it at all, and you say, well, if I knew that there was a hearing, because we had a hearing in Colorado, and I suggested that we should announce it, and they're like, no, there'd be too many people that show up, or this might. I'm like, well, we can't control what people are going to show up and do and say, but Baba needs support, and anytime we go to court, why we don't form the family? And it's always something that's opposing when it comes to unifying, and it comes to, like me, I got a big mouth. I'm going to tell it. So, because I've been there within this so-called legal team, and if I come out and say things, now, they won't step up to address it. So now I've been having these calls for the last, month and a half, and now we're getting around to getting an update call come tomorrow, Sunday, and this is what? April? This is the 5th month into the year, and we still don't. What update have you heard on Bible, Liberia? And there's never any vivid detail. So now you can't come and gather. We can't come to the temple and get information. So now what? You can't gather. Is it still, or did they lift it? I think that poster got lifted on maybe Friday was the last day, but I'm not sure. So don't quote me on that. But that's the exact point where people don't know. Like, I didn't even know about that with Tucker and Zakina. So I do know about the Brown Front. So, these type of things that has been taking place around Baba's freedom is constantly taking place. One group of people will be in Liberia saying we need to go to court because Baba has a Supreme Court hearing that was still pending. And another group saying, no, we need to have diplomacy, and we're going to negotiate with Liberia to get them free. How do you negotiate with a country that has the responsibility of repatriating? What do you bring to the table? Are we not going to tell nobody if you repatriate? I mean, what do you have as leverage to negotiate? Because that's what negotiations usually are. I have something, you have something. So, but this is the kind of things that we hear in this legal team, and I stand up and say something because I'm outvoted, or as more people say, well, this is what we're going to do. Or they say, well, if you don't have the money to do it, then we're not going to support you going to Liberia and doing it. We're going to support who we want to support, and we're not going to take you with us when we go. Because Baba told him I'm supposed to went to Liberia. This is to work with Jawa in the court. Now they say, well, they pull Jawa's whole argument out and keep putting it off until when? Until it's either too late. And then Liberia, the same people you taking to court is the same people you negotiating with. So why you can't negotiate in court? Because
so what was the result from ECOWAS with Jawa?
Well, the results of ECOWAS was a civil filing. Most people don't understand that. Baba was suing Liberia for human rights violations. So it was it was involved. ECOWAS said they couldn't rule on that because they couldn't make no determination if Liberia did neglect him or not by not repatriating him. So the ruling was against Baba. Now the biggest point that Baba wanted, and the reason why he went to court in ECOWAS was because how can you be a United States citizen and have a court in an African court to sue Liberia if you're not a Liberian and if you're not an African? That was why they say we won in ECOWAS, because it proved that Baba was an African and a Liberian to even have a court case to be heard in ECOWAS. And that also is on record and can be used in the international world courts at that time as we move forward to that. So these are things that foundations that's being laid because people keep looking for, drive-through instant, order. They just want to order, drive around, and get their food. They just think that's how it's going to be. that you're just going to get saved and be removed off this planet just because you stand up and say, Rahubat. That's all. Like, that's all it's going to take. Like, we really don't have to go in deep and do some, and be born again, as the concept goes, to truly be born again. So that is definitely what we have an issue with. There's not enough transparency. Family doesn't come together so we can find out, or even demand. See, I know years ago I was on Facebook questioning so-called people going to visit Baba and saying this and saying that, and you're not getting no response. This is how I ended up getting the Baba myself, because I had the desire to find out for myself. No one wants to truly share and come together and I need to get to Baba myself then. How can I get to him? And then the Natharu made a way for that to happen. And so now that I've seen it and got the facts and brought back actual facts, people was concerned about, did he write these facts correct? Yes. Now we know it's actual fact. They could have done that. They didn't need me to write notes and to create the so-called division just for them to answer the question, to relieve people's desire to want to know, because that's what our doctrine is based on, us having the actual fact, not having a belief. So that's all it takes.
To ask you another question, this is my last question. Why is his privileges, because it's been 40, okay, let me tell you why I'm asking this question first. Okay, when you get a shot, right, in any federal prison, they go from levels from 100 to 200. And they say the 200 shots that you get, and for those who are listening who don't know what a shot is, it's like your mother putting you on punishment. If you do something and you weren't supposed to do it and she puts you on punishment, the level of the punishment goes on how severe you supposedly had done something. Well, in the feds, they call it getting a shot. If you do a 3-way call, that's considered a shot. If you threaten an officer,
you violate.
That's a shot. Right, you violate. So
right.
They
if
call
you violate
it a
their
shot.
rules.
Right, and so what happens is they will write up the inmate, and it goes on levels from 100 to 200. So the max of a shot that you get would be 200 is serious. Like a 200 serious shot is when a person tries to escape from prison, or when a person hurts another inmate in the prison, like a real serious injury from a fight, from a physical altercation, and things like that. That's where you go up to the level of 200. Now, Baba had received the 200 series shot because Duswa, Damien Pryor, Den Tut Ray, the brother Amir, I forgot what his Sakar, I think his name is Sakar now, and a few other brothers who I don't know. But I know Baba's son, Ramesses, who everybody knows is Prince York, he was there as well. They all dressed up in regalia. They went down to ADX Florence, and it was on Easter Sunday and how I know is because Den Tut Ray gave me a call, had asked me to get in contact with Congressman John Conyers and said to get him involved because they're holding a diplomat. And I said to Den Tut Ray, I said, listen, I'm telling you as a federal inmate, you can't go down to a jail threatening to get an inmate out of jail, because they will automatically give Baba a shot and put him in a lower custody, okay? Because Baba's custody, as you stay in the jail, the longer you're there, your custody level drops. So I know for a fact that was a setup, and I'm calling it what it is. I don't give a damn. Duswa know me already. He knows me. We lived in Athens in the same apartment complex when he was mated with the sister Neefu, also known as Backset, okay? And he's been in the feds before, too, so I'm pretty sure he knows. Why would you go to a facility dressed up in the Wapian attire and demand that they release the master teacher? He automatically got a shot for that. Like he told me before in one of his letters, he said, people do stuff outside to hurt him in there. Knowing that he's in the facility, he can't say stop. He can't make a phone call when he wants to and say, hey, don't do this. they do think, and I don't care who you are, what your status is. If you're in a federal facility and your family comes there and demands that facility releases you, you automatically, your custody level drops, you automatically get a 200 series shot. So that was the setup. But now my question is, since you went up to the prison, Baba received that 200 series shot. Okay, so what now? It's been 4 years. A shot does not last that long. A 200 series shot, the longest you'll be on restriction is a year. Maybe 2, but not no freaking 4 years. This is ridiculous. So why are they not allowing the master teacher to write everyone and reach out to people who care and love and can help him?
All right. Thank you. Again, it's more to just that one particular incident. That incident, I'm sorry, I think happened in 2017, was it?
Mm-hmm. No, it's 16.
Yeah.
No, that happened in 20. Yeah. No, was it 2016? Yeah, you're right, 2017.
All right. Now, when Baba gets a shot, because he was already on restrictions, keep in mind Baba had already been in ADX for 10 years, 14 years. So the game is, with ADX, is every 6 months he's up for evaluation on any restrictions. Prior attorneys, prior people going in, trying to get into the facility that lied, that said they was legal assistance and whatnot, or they was legal counsel and whatnot, or whatever the case is, people falsifying documents and records. These are the things that keep Baba on restrictions. Baba is he's on restrictions forever. This is how they basically word it. He's on, it's another word they use, it's not eternal, but something to mean to last until. So
indefinite.
Every 6 months, indefinite, thank you. He's on restrictions indefinite. So every 6 months, they have, like you said, his SIS, his team, his counselors, the techs, they will come and evaluate his behavior and determine within every 6 months if a restriction can be lifted. Now, the actual fact of the matter is ADX creates shots that are bogus just to keep him on restrictions. So
right,
Baba
but do you
would
know
say
the name of, like, what's the name of, like,
yes,
is he had 8 shots for what?
Well, okay. I mean, that's to go into all that. He was given a shot, for instance, they said he was writing in code. He wrote Hebrew in a letter to his wife. The actual script of Hebrew and the translation of it, because he has Bible study with back and forth with his wife. So they will flag it and say, this is writing in code, or he'll draw a picture of a rose or a picture of a flower on his letter to his wife, and they say that's code. Create a shot. They can immediately, just from the shot, they can immediately take that person off his correspondence and put him on restrictions. Now, while he's on restrictions, Baba has to fight the shot. And the only way to fight it, as you know, he has to go through filing an appeal, which they call filing BP. And you go through BP 8, 9, 10, and 11. So these are 4 things that take place, and they have 20 days to respond. So it's 20 days out, 20 days in. So it'll take 4 months to finish his in-house administrative process or remedy just to win the case, or to take it to a DHO hearing, which is a hearing that they have inside the prison where someone else can determine. And this comes in, this comes up every 3 months if they come to the prison at that time. So every 6 months when Baba gets evaluated, they'll give him some bogus shot just to say, oh, well, you violated this. Oh, well, this took place, so you can't do that. They found something in his cell. Now, every often, the cell blocks, the inmates have switched to the next cell. They'll rotate cells, so you're not in the exact same cell every 3 months. Well, when they rotate Baba into a new cell, they'll come. They have to sweep the cell. That means all your stuff comes out of your cell. It gets scanned before it goes into another cell. They was in the process of transferring him into another cell and found something above the door that was contraband. Said he was using it to make tea with. The Bible can't even reach up above the door to hide it anyway. But they'll give him a shot for that. And he starts the process all over again. This is what they've been doing, and this is why we're supposed to have been in court filing against them 2 years ago. And I don't think the filing of his restrictions, because we put the video out last year, that we were starting to raise money now to fight, because Bob had been wanting to fight these restrictions. And it still hasn't been filed. It still hasn't been moved forward. Why? I don't know.
You said Baba didn't want us. You said Baba didn't want.
No, he wanted.
Y'all to, okay.
No, he wanted. He wanted to fight it. He wanted to go to court with it. He filled out his DPs, so you could already have the in-house administration before you can move into the court. So he did all of that, and this is when they blocked Victoria. As we was putting the case together, this is when they said she was trying to bring in, like, this is another example of what the BP does. Victoria was going to a legal visit. She had a printout of the internet of the Lopez article dealing with People's Magazine.
That died in there?
No. Nicole Lopez did an article in the People's Magazine.
Oh, okay.
She took down a quote about Baba. BOP said that was contraband and said that she was harassing a federal witness. And they put on restrictions, and that's when they blocked us from visiting Baba, communicating, writing, everything. Which Baba had told us that they was leading up to trying to do that to begin with, because they knew we were fighting for Baba's freedom. And we were actual saviors coming in, and I'm dressed in my guard coming in, and they wanted to stop us from coming. And they did. And we still didn't do anything about it. Nothing got filed, nothing was moved forward, because something will come up, and again, it'll be about money, and they say, well, that's going to cost too much. We don't want to pay that. We don't want to, because to go through a litigation costs. You got to do deposition, the travel, it's full-fledged. So at the time, administration said, well, we ain't going to, that's $50,000. We're not going to do that. Compared to, they make the determining what the nation's going to do. Just because they might not have the money or didn't want to spend the money at the time, what they got to do with the family and the nation? So, but at the time, Baba said, the House makes decisions. So they made the decision. So I got tired of sitting waiting for them to make the decision. And I said, well, we're going to make a video. We're going to put it out. And anybody want to donate, then they can come and donate to us. And, the House can be whatever. So the House steps in as soon as the video comes out and says, well, we're going to send you $3,000, but we want to be informed on what's going on and be a part of what's going on. And as soon as they got involved, that was last year, and you still don't see the filing for the restrictions. So these are the things that keep happening for whatever reason, and people want to determine which direction Baba's legal fight goes. And as long as they can keep it from everyone else.
When they did that, it restricted. So I understand. So when they
okay, so let me go back and finish. So Baba's restrictions never come off. So every 6 months, they took them off of general. When that situation happened with Deuce and them going and the UCC and saying they're going to collect their property, and they tried to say that Baba was a threat, the one thing or escape risk, the one thing the BOP didn't do is inform the FBI. And he should have supposed to have been given a write-up, and which he was never written up. But they used it in court. They wrote up a letter, their own letter, and gave it to Baba.
The prison.
And said, the prison did it. The prison wrote up a letter and said that, he's an escape risk, and he's mentally ill because he thinks he's a Liberian diplomat and citizen. So in the hearing for the medical transfer, the documents was brought up and showed to the court and given to the prosecution to the defendant, not the prosecution, we was prosecuting, showing that Baba is a Liberian citizen and diplomat. And the judge said, well, that needs to be filed in another court and brought up in another way, because this is actually at that time that was a restraining hearing to stop the BOP from giving Baba any kind of medication, because they was trying to say his level changed and that he was delirious, basically what they was trying to say. So every time that he gets on good behavior, he won't write letters for 6 months. He won't do anything. He won't even go out of his cell. He'll be on good behavior for 6 months. When the evaluation comes up, thinking they're going to give him back some of his privileges, something else will come up. They'll bring up something that was 6 months ago, rewritten, and just now say, oh, well, we never heard this case, so now it's going to get addressed now, and we find you guilty now and put you on restrictions again. So they'll move him. So now that he's been moved to the old man facility, or to a lesser threatening facility, and they turn around and gave Victoria email privileges. Still hadn't opened at that time when I was involved. Still hadn't opened legal visits, and it really wasn't determined if the email was legal or general, because we could still write Baba generally. When they put us on restrictions, I was still writing Baba, but it was going through general mail. So we really couldn't give him detailed information because we know it was being read. And he couldn't write back with what he wanted to say because he knew it was being open, because it wasn't no longer legal mail. Again, this is when Chuck and Zakina can step back in, because Zakina also was put on block for bringing in documents of International Court of Justice documents, claiming that it was from the International Court, and it was some sidebar UCC sovereign type of thing, and that's what Deuce was doing with the land, saying he got a allodial title, and then you own 3 states. Well, why did he run off to Ghana if you got a allodial title to 3 states in the United States? Why you didn't come here and collect those 3 states and get Baba free? But now he didn't collect the people's money, and now he's in Ghana in a nice big house, and everybody just forgets about it. You see, this is the kind of, antics that keep going on that we don't want to address, because people sit back and say, well, I don't know, this one says this one, people say anything, I'm confused, because everybody won't come to the table. You have a call, anybody can call in on our calls, get on the call, anybody want to speak on the behalf of the House, administration, New York, the legal team, whatever the case, and can address all of that. Say again?
No, I'm just like, wow, because it's just like so many games being played. And the games it's almost like as if the prison is in contact with people in this tribe, and they're working collectively to do this. Because, that's what it sounds like to me.
That's a reasonable assumption. I don't have no actual fact on that, but it is interesting how shots do come about, how the prison gets informed about certain things that we're doing out here, and then all of a sudden, we're taking off of, his privileges. So Baba is still on restrictions, or if they have been lifted, who's giving you updates? Because I was the only one I knew that was coming back giving updates, was me and Victoria, when we had updates. But now, as soon as we got blocked in the last 2 years, what updates have you, what videos, who's giving you, just recently, the last 2 videos that just came out was this year of updates of what's going on, and that one of them is because of the coronavirus, is why those 2 updates just came out. For the last 2.5 years, we have no updates. So you don't know, Baba could be, his writing privileges could be open. It's just no one's telling you. And for those that have written it, either they received their letters back or they didn't. So, you don't know these things because no one wants to inform. Or Baba will say, well, no, don't let everybody know, because as soon as thousands of letters come in, the BOP is going to come up with, this is how they stopped his last. We got his general writing privileges open, and because the BOP said there was so many letters coming in, they just waited for that one letter that was written from out of the country in another language. I think it was in French. And they said, oh, well, we have to shut this down because it's so many letters coming in different languages. This is a code and this is this. And so we can't, and so they shut him down again. And he's only back to writing 10 people on the list. And they take people off that list every time or put people on it that they want on the list. So the game, I mean, it's more in depth. It's lots of games that they're constantly playing against Baba, on top of all the infighting going on out here with the tribe that's also keeping Baba locked up. Because we won't work out the kinks and the differences of what's really going on and expose what's going on and change our ways and admit, and that's the hardest thing for us to do, is to acknowledge, oh, you know what, that was bad knowledge, bad reasoning. So now that I know good reasoning, let's move on. You know, we want to be offended and have a problem because I point something out and they say, oh, you talk so condescending, like you making me sound stupid. Now, I'm not making you sound stupid. Right knowledge is making you sound stupid. And if what you were saying was stupid, then it was just stupid because it didn't have and hold any facts. So if we're a nation that's built on facts and sound right reasoning, then why do we get upset with if your reasoning don't out-reason my reasoning? And if whatever's the best reasoning, let's go with that compared to, oh, that's an opinion. That's just your opinion. And we spend too much time arguing over an opinion instead of getting to the facts, getting to what sounds, and not sounds right, to sound meaning foundation, to the bottom line, to the correct information. And let's move on that. Let's not come up with concepts saying we're going to have negotiations with a country that we're going to negotiate Baba's freedom with, and then you don't have nothing on your side to negotiate with. That's not sound right reasoning. That's foolishness. And where has it gotten Baba at this point in time with all this diplomatic negotiations that they're doing in Liberia? So Baba can only work through us as best as all of us out here are willing to work. So if all we can do is say, Baba say, oh, put out, get me in the newspapers in Liberia, put signs and billboards and flyers out, and let the people know, then he's giving us a direction, saying inform the Liberians. We've been there for 2 years. We got a bookstore going on over there yet? We open up any tabs, any stores, communities? What are we doing in Liberia to have an effect on the Liberians that's there? If you want to have some kind of political power, does the Liberians know that there's a Liberian diplomat in the United States, and get Liberia to put the pressure on the government? But when you want to do everything on your own and think you got it all figured out, then this is what happens with us. This is nothing gets done. And then we want to say, well, let's get a brother's a hand. They over there in the trenches. Yeah. But we can't stop there. And if you're in the trenches and you're just sitting there in the trenches and you ain't taking on no fire and you ain't shooting back, then you're just sitting there in the trenches. And sometimes to some people, that's enough. That's all they want to do is say, I'm doing this, just to say I'm doing something. And we got to start doing more. Go ahead, sister.
Right. No, I was going to say, did you read the actual fact, Haggadah Shalil Nawar Wunarar, the God of light and fire? Did you get that actual fact?
Yes.
Okay, so you see in there's like a timeline, and I think even before the master teacher returns or is released, I know he told us years ago when he comes out of there, they're going to let him out through the back door, and it's not going to be something that everybody hears about. They're not going to put it all over the news, and I guess that's just the way it needs to be. But in that book, it talks about great balls of fire that's going to hit the planet, and I think, and then he said right after that he'll be released because the world will know. The world will know who he is. So anyway, I just wanted to end in that, but because I've been around Baba like many others. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm the only one that's been around Baba. So I want to clear that too. But I've seen him transform in front of me. And I remember one of the sisters who worked in the office with me, when Baba, he left, and the next morning when we saw him again, he was 7 feet tall. And she said, nah, you got stilts in your shoes, man. And she went to go look down. And he's like, and he took his shoes off and showed her. There's no stilts in my shoes, and we were all, I mean, there's some of us that have personal, real extraterrestrial ET experiences with Baba. He's not human. That's a fact. And I remember when Bastet used to go up to visit, she said one day that the guards in there had asked, they said, hey, is he some type of extraordinary being or something like that? And they asked him that. So it's not like they know who Baba is. They know he's an extraterrestrial. They know that his salvation, that our salvation is in his hands. And these people know this, you know. And Baba wrote so many books with his hands. I don't know how he did it, because I get to page 24 or 26 and I'm falling asleep. And he wrote that with his hands. It's just phenomenal. It's amazing. And then not including all the letters that other people got that Baba wrote, not including the music, the parade. I mean, he's a God. He's our God. And I just know he'll be out of there. That I know. How, when, where, that's the only big secret that none of us will ever know, because there's a sister that lived on Tamaray, and she told me that the day before Baba left, on May 8th, he walked around the office asking all the sisters. He said, do you know who I am? What's my name? And one sister said, oh, you're Atum Ray. And he said to someone else, what's my name? And the sister said, oh, you Doc. You know, you Doc. And someone else said, you the master teacher, and this, that. And they never said who he was. And he stopped and he looked at them and he said, I am Melchizedek, I am the tester, and don't you forget it. That was his last words to the people on the land. And then he also told those who lived on Tamaray, he said, this land is going to be gone. This is all going to be over. This thing here in Georgia. And when it's all said and done, there's only going to be enough of you. He didn't mean it's the world. He's talking to them on the land. He said it's only going to be enough of you to fit inside of a Volkswagen when it's over. There was over 300 people that lived on the land. So he said that when it was all over, there was only going to be enough of them to fit inside of a Volkswagen. I think a Volkswagen holds like six people. So out of 300, only 6 may make it. So in closing, I just wanted to say, if you're not working out, you need to work out. If you're not eating properly, you need to eat properly, because Baba said this is just the beginning, and I got a feeling this thing ready to get real, real ugly. And if you eating meat and you ain't taking care of yourself, and you can't, you know, you're not in physical shape, it's no way it's no way you're going to even be able to go to the next level where the master teacher's trying to take us. You're not going to be able to do it if you're thinking and eating and living like that, period.
How was that, sister?
All right. And you have a wonderful day. I have something I have to take care of, but I like your conference calls, and I'll be tuning in, and I'll be listening next time. I'll just listen. All right, Wadu.
Well, thanks for sharing, Wadu.
Oh, you're welcome, Wadu.
Now, the brother earlier was going to get into, if you want to go back to that, you were saying you was going to share stuff about the medical. But if there's any other questions, we can pick up from either where we left off or go into something else.
Yeah, I open. Let's see. I open up the line. Robert, family, you open. 4538 is the last 4.
Tua, Robert, this is Nushat.
Robert.
Robert. I wanted to just answer a question that Mario asked maybe about an hour ago. The question was, you made a lot of great points. The question was, like, why, like, what's keeping people back? What's part of the spell? People sitting in fear or waiting for permission, and, you know, all the points that you covered. But you asked the key question. You were waiting for someone to answer. And the question, I believe you could refresh my memory, but you said what's keeping people from stepping up and doing something? Is that what you had asked?
Well, yes. What is keeping us from destroying the spell? What is keeping us?
So
what's holding us back? Go ahead.
Okay, what's holding us back? Well, I can probably talk about personally what's holding me back. And I'm probably talking for other people as well. But as far as I can see, there's been a lot of sabotage from what I've experienced and also from what I've seen other people experience when they're getting up and doing stuff based on your own testimony, based on Tabitha's testimony. And there's other, from the littlest progression to the biggest progression, from Pop's freedom to something really small, there's been a lot of flip game or sabotage. And when it's called out, there's no consequence for it because I've personally called out things. I've personally brought things to a bigger attention. I've even had meetings to expose maybe dozens of people, showing up and it's like that didn't really result in anything, and it just more result in me being ostracized or just anybody that I've seen doing anything productive, whether it was from Pop's freedom or whatever, and it being shot down. And then what's that like? What's keeping us from coming together? Coming together with who? You know what I mean? Because when you're coming together, it's a lot of sabotage. Right. So that was just basically, and with no consequence. So that's basically the point I wanted to make.
Okay. So you're saying what you feel is holding you back is when you try to step out and step in and bring things out, and you have no other support. Nothing is there that's put in place to hold people accountable for their actions and deeds. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. And when they're exposed, it's like, okay. And you still see people still working with them and handing them money or whatever. And it's like, why would you keep doing something and expect a different result? So I've seen people lose thousands of dollars, all types of things. I've seen people anybody trying to personally do something to the collective. There's always somebody in that collective draining the efforts, if you know what I mean. And it always seems like it's on purpose.
Well, what the word nawap means is to replace. So when you see something that needs to be replaced, we as Nawapians all have to be the ones that step up and replace. And even though we still have a shook for that unconditional love, because the fact that we are given opportunity to change, we're striving for perfection. So as we work towards perfecting ourselves, where we stop at is when we see and make the mistake and then we don't correct it. This is what I'm saying is the biggest, downfall of us as a people. We won't acknowledge it and then we won't correct it because of habit. The spell works off a habit. Your habit over a period of time becomes habitual, and that becomes your nature. So your nature is created of habits that you do and practice throughout your life. If we don't start practicing the new habit, if someone is getting involved or we're talking vague or we go behind someone's back or we assume, and that's the biggest habit, is jumping to, assumptions. We assume that this person is doing this or that person is out to do that. They're not out to help Baba. And then that person takes it upon themselves to go and sabotage or create a situation to get you removed or get you stopped from going to see Baba or visiting or whatever to put you on the so-called white ball list, because people get tired or frustrated. Like I can understand the brothers when they wanted to take it upon themselves to create an avenue to try to free Baba, and they went to, through their means of what they felt was best. They had good intentions, but when you keep putting yourself in a situation where you don't have all your, let's say, bases covered, then the result is going to be the same. And so we keep failing as individuals. Like, this is a prime example of our affirmation. We keep failing as individuals. Everybody wants to do it their way instead of doing it the way. And when we start doing it to our way as a whole, as a nation, then we will start seeing the success that we all want. So until that time, and until we stand as a nation and as a body that says, okay, who is doing what now? So then when people, when situations come about where someone has made a mistake, let's say, or reasoned shortly, and now the whole nation can say, okay, well, this is how we now correct it. But see, we're not making decisions as a nation. It's individuals making decisions as individuals or a group of individuals. And most of those group of individuals are all in agreement. So you got to find those that with like minds that agree as you do. Because we say we're supposed to meet and agree in perfect harmony. But most of the time we don't even meet, and then we don't know how to agree because we don't know how to communicate and have conversation without saying it's an argument. And you look up the word argument. Argument only means that you're voicing your opinion, or you're taking a stand, or you're defending a stand. You're defending a position. So we have to all take our stand, defend the position, and come out with sound right reasoning of what's that best position for us all. But we still caught up in opinion, and we don't really see that. So we have to start addressing. People have to start sharing so we can start pointing out, is that an opinion or is that an actual fact? Is that sound right reasoning or is that speculation? Is that vivid or is that vague? Those are the principles and the practices we have to now start. It's always been implemented. It's always been taught. Bible's always taught this. But when are we going to start living it? And hold everyone that says they are Savior.
That's exactly the point. Like, I do see individually some individuals doing that from time to time. And when they are doing that, what I'm saying is that it's been the pattern for sound right reason to be sensationalized out or manipulated out, or like outright and like people would be exposed for sabotaging these efforts, and it's like nothing's really. They'll still be in their position, or they'll still have the same accesses, or there's no consequence. Because I think that it's all nice to know what's expected, but when there's no consequence for, like if you don't do X, Y, Z, yeah.
What would be a consequence that we would need to have? Because we do have canons, we do have the way. What would you recommend? Yeah, for such actions like that.
Okay. I mean, it's hard for me to just say, but I guess it'll be depending on. Okay, if a person has sabotaged, like money, for example, and they were exposed for stealing or something. I'm just giving an example. And they were exposed for stealing and things like that. Why are they still handling money, for example? Or like, let's see, like, and they'll be public.
Let's stop right there. Let's use that one, because that's a good example. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did mean to cut you off. But let's use that. Someone misappropriates funds, and then they still in the position of collecting money. Now, in right knowledge, instead of using the Adamite mentality, saying let's remove them, right knowledge would say let's just stop sending our money to that person. Why don't we take on the responsibility instead of expecting that person to be responsible? See, we can't control what other people do. We can't control how other people think. What we can control is ourselves. And if we collectively
that's what I'm saying. That's why people end up doing their own thing. That's the point I'm making, because they're like, okay, you know what? I can't trust to send it out. The only person I could trust is myself. So what I'm saying is it does end up taking right back. It ends up making that vicious cycle of people feeling, even if it's not happening, that's what they feel, they see, like, oh, there's a sabotage. You know, I exposed it, it's still continuing the same way, so you know what, I'm going to do it a different way. But that, you're trying to do it on your own, and it goes right back to, like, going back, you're now pulling yourself out the group and acting individually. So what's keeping us coming together? That's the
right. It goes back to our level of reason. See, the first thing we do, we still thinking in duality. See, the first thing we say, well, if because they didn't do it, now that means I need to do it. That's that concept of it's either this or that compared to this and that. Meaning, do we hold on to the organization, but now just remove the individual? See, do we keep the structure? See, instead of saying, let's reinvent the wheel, if we already have attorneys or brothers in place in Liberia, and we already have these things moving, let's just replace that person and keep the system moving with someone that's going to get it done.
We have to collectively agree to do that. Because if I decide, because let's say I decide to, like this person's stealing, and I say I'm not going to mess with them anymore, and then you decide to send them large sums of money, and then it's like and it's still keeping like it's more like where we move collectively, and people will personally decide, okay, I'm gonna take that person out my circle, but they're still operating the circle that you want to operate in.
Right, because enough people don't know. And that goes back to our level of communication. Like, you might have a personal experience with someone, and you go, oh, that person done me dirty. They done some shady business. I don't trust that person. But you won't expose it to other people, or when you do, I'm not saying directly you, I'm just giving an example. When someone comes along and says they want to expose this individual, they'll say, but I'm not going to say no name. Or they don't have the details. If you know how to speak. Right. And that's what's holding us back, because we still playing this Adamite. It's like saying, I'm not going to snitch. And like, we got some street laws or something. I'm not going to snitch.
How you going to have transparency if you don't snitch?
Exactly. See, we still bringing in that Adamite mentality. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Well, that's why I was asking when I first called in last week. I was like, okay, well, define love and unity. Because what I'm saying is that people use these games, and it's like, okay, we all in the process of perfecting ourselves. We all have different forms of the spells in us, and our DNA, and our habits, and we're working to perfect ourselves. And this is why I feel like in a group sense, people think that they're practicing love and unity by, I'm going to give this person a second chance. And without any type of disciplinary action, without any incentive to change, or it's like people are being rewarded to stay the same way as they are.
You're right. And this is why we have to have now this type of call to bring it out and say, okay, we're going to now start to not accept this type of behavior amongst us as a tribe. We don't care what title, what position, how closely related you are to the Bible. If you are chosen by the tribe to say, okay, you've done this, we need to sit you over here on the sideline for a minute till you can reform yourself and then, come back in. But we have to base everything on sound right reasoning. And the only way we can do it is it has to be put on the table. But because people can go off and be unreachable and only interact through social media and post, and people still have support because they say, well, I don't believe that. People are going to believe what they want to believe. It's not about convincing anybody. It's about presenting the facts, and you do what you want to with them. You have to decide that.
Well, let me ask you if we...
Go ahead.
Let me ask you if we can agree on this then. Can we agree before we set a new table, we have to put what's already been on the table? Because it's like, I do feel, out of good intentions, a lot of us who feel like we have good efforts, we feel like, or we assume that we're all on the same page, or we all know the same thing. And it's like, something happened to you. I don't know to ask those questions to find out what happened to you, because I'm not psychic, So it's like, do you agree that whoever's coming to the table has to just put on the table what they experienced, or what they're trying to accomplish, or different things? Because you come to a circle and you'll see the same saboteurs sometimes in those circles. And like you're saying, it's because, maybe this is not a clear enough communication. People don't really know. So all the efforts that are, like what we're trying to weed out, ends up coming right back to another form.
Right. And that's what has to be brought out. I mean, yes, we have to sit, but the biggest question within your question is, what specifically will we be addressing? So if we say, let's say we want to get an attorney to communicate with Baba so we can have open communications within our forum. Anybody can go hire an attorney on Baba's behalf and send that attorney, let Baba meet them. If Baba wants to do business with them, that's Baba's decision. Most of the time when people send Baba attorneys, it's almost like they're forcing him to have this attorney because it's through the organization, it's through administration, it was through his family. Like when he was first arrested, he was given an attorney. Baba didn't hire that attorney from the Garland firm. And it took him over a year or so to fire him, and the judge still wouldn't allow him to get rid of the firm. So we have to have that conversation. People have to be able to share that information, but we also have to have what specific is going to be the task that we want to move forward on. And sometimes you don't have to say we have to start all over. It's just about what are we going to do from this point on? Are we trying to reform? I can't reform anyone. I can't go and help. All I can do is present to you what Bob was taught and presented to me. And so it's up to that individual. But what I can do is say, well, those that do agree, let's meet and let's decide to either get land, let's get attorneys, let's heal one another and find out what our issues, personal issues are, so we can help one another, because we all do have different experiences, like you said. We do have different parts of the spell that we've overcome and different parts that we're still fighting to overcome. We have to help each other, and we have to be willing to want to help and be helped. And this is where we're at. This is where we've always been. But now, because it's more vivid now, it's more in our face now, we can see how much is needed, especially with what's going on in the world. And because of the spell, our conditioning, we have a tendency as Negro-minded is to wait till, as they say, the crap hits the fan, and then we want to respond. So that keeps us in the second and not the first. Like, we've taken these calls for granted that they won't cut this line off or cut my phone off or make it difficult for us to communicate just by another epidemic or pandemic or whatever situation can take place, and they can cut everything off. They can come in and say, well, this person is trying to create anti-government. He's a terrorist. And they come and arrest me, and what we're going to do? Nothing. Same way they arrested Baba, what do we do? Nothing. And when is it going to when are we going to get it together before that keeps happening over and over to us again? So people that are doing whatever, if you disagree with it, even though they family, let them go on and do what they're doing. Get with those that you agree with, that you can see eye to eye with, and maybe eventually we can bring it all together. But if people are not willing to sit down at the table with you and expose and be transparent and put that heart on the scale, then, that they destiny is up to them. It's either by their faith or by their faith.